Welcome back to another Professional Picks college basketball video. Today we're looking at number 10 Baylor going up against number 21 Duke. This game is being played in Madison Square Garden. In my opinion, there's nothing better than betting on a neutral site game. So if you look at it in ESPN or any sports book, Duke's going to show up as the home team, but this is a neutral site game. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you're enjoying the content that we have so far. Been doing very well as of late. I didn't post it with the video, but I did end up posting a pick at Profit of Picks on Twitter for that Purdue versus Arizona game. I did end up going with my heart in Purdue, and they won that game pretty handily in the end. But that brings us up to 7-1 in our last 8 bets now. The devil emoji was a little bit questionable, but we were feeling ourselves at the time, having a great last couple of weeks. Let's get into our matchup. Duke's coming into this game at 7-3, while Baylor is now 9-1 after suffering their first loss to Michigan State this last weekend, and it did get ugly. Let me know if you guys like this slide. I've just started throwing this in the last few videos. Look a little bit more at the lineups, but if it's taken away from the actual matchup, feel free to chime in the comments. But Tyrese Proctor, he's a game time decision for this matchup. So the Duke Blue Devils will be going with that lineup there in the middle, featuring Caleb Foster, very talented freshman, getting more of a chance in these last couple of games. Baylor, on the other hand, is healthy for this game. They've been rolling with that lineup on the top there with the 8 games played. And right off the bat, looking at these two, I think Baylor's going to have a little bit of trouble slowing down Filipowski in this game, as most teams will. Missy is big. He's a productive freshman, but he hasn't shown that he could keep up laterally yet with either Mark Mitchell or Filipowski in this case. Baylor has some other options, though. Jalen Bridges, for example, listed at 6'9", should be athletic enough to at least slow him down. And then they also have Caleb Lohner off the bench and then Josh Ojanawuna. So these guys are all going to get minutes and definitely going to affect slowing down Filipowski. I like the Blue Devils starting 5 a little bit more. Jeremy Roach and Ray J. Dennis, both very efficient guards in my mind. They kind of wash out. I just think Filipowski has such a big mismatch in the front court. That's the first thing that jumps off the page to me looking at this one. On the other hand, Baylor does have a deeper bench at the moment, especially with Tyrese Proctor out with that ankle injury. We already talked about the bigs that they could bring in to slow down Filipowski, but they also have Langston Love, who is a complete X factor. I mean, I don't have him listed as an X factor on this next screen here, but he's dropped 24 this season already. He could definitely affect the outcome of games. Moving along, despite the AP poll here that has Baylor at number 10 and Duke at 21, Ken Palm, who I trust pretty closely, has Baylor at number 15 and Duke actually ahead of them at number 12. And I agree with this ranking. Even with the 2 extra losses, I think Duke has a little bit more talent on their team. Baylor's most impressive win to date is against Auburn early in the season. Auburn's been playing well since then, but Auburn's not another team that jumps off the page to me. Ken Palm loves the way Auburn's playing. They're more of like a 9-10 deep. Remind me a little bit of Houston style basketball, but until I watch a little bit more of them, I don't see the game-changing X factors other than Johnny Broome. And then Duke's best win is Michigan State. So both of these teams are a little bit on the fraud watch early. I do still think Michigan State's a good team, but that's your best win over a month into the season, then this is going to be a game that Duke is going to really want to stack the resume. Baylor doesn't have any huge wins, but they also have wins against Florida, Seton Hall, so a couple other good Power 5 teams in the mix. But both teams put Baylor's strength as offense because they're really relying on that offense, but both of these teams have top offenses in the country right now. Baylor is at number 4, Duke's at number 10, so it's a little bit less high-powered over there in Durham, but this game's going to have a really high total. I could see the total being almost so high that you would take the under. Looking at the pace of play for these two, neither of them are top 50 or top um, 80 for that matter. So, I mean, they shoot and they score really efficiently. There's a lot of good players on both sides of the ball, so you're going to score. But I think I think you might want to take an under on a really high total just because these teams don't try to run each other out of the gym, especially Duke. If they take control of this game, they're going to want to slow it down a little bit. So, I mean, I never bet the total, but I think this might be a good one for the under if you see a massive total just because these offenses are scoring both over 80 per game at the moment. So each team will definitely be able to get their points. Granted, there is a little bit more balanced distribution on the Baylor side. I put the X factor for Baylor is Jacoby Walter. He can already do pretty much most things with the ball in his hands as a freshman. He won Big 12 Player of the Week in his first week of playing college basketball, but he's been pretty inconsistent since. In his last 5 games, 4 of those he's below his season average. Only put up 9 points and 33% against Michigan State in that blowout. Still give him the lean over Caleb Foster, but if Caleb Foster could start hitting some threes, he could swing this game quickly in Duke's favor. Hasn't taken the most advantage of his opportunity with these last 2 starts, but even early on in the season, whether it was Champions Classic or some of those other games, he's definitely shown he can hit those big shots if given the opportunity. On the other hand, I put Mark Mitchell as the X factor for Duke for pretty much many of the same reasons as Jacoby Walters there. Inconsistency. I and most others expected a bigger jump from him this year. He's only made 1 of his 16 3-point attempts, which is just an awful number, and definitely letting that confidence get to him. He was fighting through an injury to open the season, though. He shot 35% from the arc last year, hit a decent amount of threes, not a ton, but from the 4 spot, enough to be considered a threat from the arc. If he could get that part of his game back, this Duke offense is going to be absolutely brutal to stop, with everyone being able to shoot from the outside. And I don't think that's hard to see. I mean, if you just watch Mark Mitchell this year, yeah, you probably don't think he could shoot from the outside at all, but he's shown he can hit that jump shot. It would just add a completely another dimension to this team, not letting one of those posts sag off and clog up the paint. My issue with Baylor, and I feel like you can tell I'm getting at this because my comments are been leaning towards Duke so far, and I mean I already said I like them more than Baylor, agreeing with KenPom, but Baylor's defense is just not very good. There was the same issue for them last year. They lost 11 games, and they've kind of gotten away with it so far with a deeper bench. It's given them the chance to play through some foul trouble, but they just gave up 88 points to a Michigan State offense that was really struggling. And there's only one team in KenPom with the worst defensive score ahead of Baylor, and that's Alabama, who's already suffered 4 losses. You don't see a lot of great college basketball teams built off of offense. I mean, Baylor's got a great offense, but even at number 4, I don't see these guys showing up each and every night and winning games just by outscoring your opponent, especially when you're going up against a team like Duke. The defense hasn't been playing up to their caliber, but it's much better than Baylor's has been so far. And they have a similar roster that they had last year. I think they could get close to that top 20 ranking that they finished off in KenPom defensively at the end of last season. Opening line for this game, Duke is sitting at -1.5, and I think I'm going to take it, or I'm going to take it, but I just don't know at what amount because it looks like the early money is on Baylor. I kind of expected this, sitting at 10th in the AP poll, coming off their first loss. Seems like a good opportunity to bet Baylor in this one, but I really think Duke is the play. Maybe give it a minute or a couple hours, see if you get this closer to money line, but I like Duke to win this game outright. That's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and good luck on your bets this week.